Hi, welcome to Coffee at XO. I'm David McLennan. I'm the owner here of XO Espresso Bar. This video series, we're going to be interviewing entrepreneurs here in Miami.
More big businesses coming in and really changing the city. Work for yourself, work hard, and do the right thing.
We're going to be asking them all the questions, the good, the bad, and everything in between.
When life gives you lemons, I didn't quite make lemonade, I made juice instead.
Take any little setbacks that you get and you have to learn from them, right?
We have decades and decades of propaganda. We saw the movement evolve. We found that it helped a lot of people.
That's a great point. One of the ways we deal with the misconceptions is obviously through the information. So if you want to learn a little bit about being an entrepreneur here in Miami, stick with us. If you have any comments or questions, leave it down below. Without further ado, let's get stuck in. Welcome to the fourth episode of Coffee at XO. Today we have a fantastic guest here. We've got the owner of Clay Facial Bar, Taylor Palank. Welcome.
Thank you,
Coffee
David.
at XO.
Thank
It's a
you.
pleasure to have you here today on this Sunday morning. Let's get started by you giving us your spiel. What is Clay Facial Bar?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm Taylor. I'm the owner of Clay Facial Bar. Clay Facial Bar, we launched in January, so we're pretty new, and we focus only on professional facial treatments. We make them more affordable, more convenient, and we still deliver quality results in your skin.
Fantastic. Well, I know you've got a great reputation in town. There is a bunch of facial bars, and I'm going to be honest, I'm still learning about the whole thing. I've had facials. I love them. Yours is a little bit different. Tell us a little bit about how you are different to other facial bars.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there actually in Miami aren't many facial bars, and that's how we're different. There are a lot of spas where you can get facial treatments. We're a facial bar, meaning that's all we focus on. So we remove the fluff of a traditional spa, like let's say at a high-end luxury hotel. We remove the fluff, and that's how we're able to, like the robes, the sauna, and that's how we're able to keep our prices down. So you're in and out in an hour or 30 minutes, depending on what option you choose, with high quality skin results.
I love it. When you talk about that, it actually makes me realize there's a few similarities between our businesses and that we're kind of a grab and go concept. We don't have some of the fluff as well, yet we really do focus on still having a very high quality product, which I know is important to you,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We focus on the products and the service. Those are the two things we focus most on. So our products are very high end. They've been used at some of the fanciest spas around. They're organic, plant-based. That we use a wonderful brand that I love called Yanka. And then our service, all of our estheticians are experienced, they're skin obsessed, and they're there to educate and deliver a quality product to our guests.
Fantastic. Well, I just realized we've forgotten to do something. We've forgotten to get coffee. So,
Absolutely.
really important. What would you like?
I'm a cold brew girl. Yeah,
Cold brew,
nitro
nice.
cold brew. Yeah.
Nitro?
Yeah.
Okay, so nitro cold brew for Taylor. And I think I'm going to have a bit of an Aussie coffee. I'm going to have a long black. Thank you.
What's a long black?
Long black, good question. Kind of like a Americano. Okay. A little less hot water, 2 shots of espresso on top. So it's very similar to a traditional Americano. But yeah, so I'm going to have one of those this morning. All right, let's get into a little bit more about Clay Facial Bar. But before we do that, I'm going to talk about how we met because it's kind of fun, right? So we were doing the Brickell Farmers Market. You were a customer of ours, right? You would come in, and particularly you and my wife, Pooja, my business owner as well. You guys would have a chat about your business.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about, when you met us, where you're at and where you're at now with the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Last summer was, when we met at the Brickell Farmers Market. At that point, we were just doing some events with Clay. So I was technically still living in New York. I was going to grad school there, and that's kind of how the idea was born. Was I was in New York. I wanted an option that I could go to late at night. I didn't have to plan weeks in advance. I wasn't going to spend $200. So I was kind of like, why is this such a, thank you. Why is this such a difficult process to get quality skincare? And so that's kind of how the idea was born. Yeah. And last summer we met was when I was first trying to test out, wondering if Miami would be a receptive market. Yeah. And so, we were doing events there at the time. And then I had to take a little hiatus to finish up grad school. Yep. And then I moved back down to Brickell in January. And now we have a location in Brickell and in Coral Gables. So we're more permanent, more established. And we've been growing, and it feels funny that it was a year ago and how much has changed.
So much, right? I mean, I think it too, it's gone so quickly. And I think it does when you have a business. Things go so quickly and so much happens within a space of time. It's fantastic to have you back here now permanently. it's been quite a journey for both of us. And I think it's kind of funny. We both started off with the mobile setup, doing events. And now we've both kind of got more stable kind of locations, 2 of them. So we've got a similar story. I know we've had quite a journey. We've had some hilarious moments, some moments where we're like, oh my God, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Those tend to, over time, peter out a little bit and you get a bit more stable. Tell us a little bit about your journey, some fun stuff that's happened and just the journey you've been on.
It is interesting when you look back after a year of business ownership, or I guess, about a year since we were doing events anyways. It is funny how much you learn. I remember our very first event, we had like back-to-back hour-long facials. It was like an 11, 12-hour day kind of thing. And which was wonderful, and it was really reassuring to me as like this is being our launching event.
Sure.
But I do remember that I forgot to charge like pretty much everyone, and I remember going home and being like, I'm the worst business owner ever. Like I didn't make any money today because I didn't charge anyone. And most of the people they were like, I had some like mutual connections because at that point we were like much smaller, so it was like friends of friends kind of thing. Yeah. So I was able to like reach out afterwards and be like, can I send you a PayPal request?
I think it's funny. I think at that point in the business, when you're so early on, you're not really focusing on the money so much.
Exactly.
I mean, afterwards, you're like, did I make any? But when you're there, you're really just focusing on, hey, I need this product to, do people like it? Do people want it? And you're so focused on that, it's easy to have a situation like that occur.
Yes.
I think we've actually had a similar situation with events as well, where we've forgot, we haven't actually thought about the charging process. Now, obviously, that you're more established, you obviously dial in the business aspect, right? Like in terms of financial, you have to. I mean, you realize that in a small business, the margins, you have to dial them in, right? Otherwise, it gets out of control pretty quickly.
Totally. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, and our margins are not as big as a traditional spa, so I really need to make sure I'm charging people.
No, for sure. Well, let me ask you a question. So, I've had facials before, a long time ago. Do you get many guys in the spa? Like, what's the whole situation with girls, guys, facials there?
Guys are actually some of my favorite clients. Maybe you're not supposed to have favorites. I don't know. But I like when men come in because they're not as used to pampering themselves. So when they leave, they're like, this has been a secret I didn't know about my whole life. And you're like, yes, it has been. We'll see you next month. And they love it. And they're just extra grateful, I guess. We do get a lot more men, I'd say, than where a traditional place that offers facials because we are less fluffy, I'll say. We're not, it's less intimidating for a guy to come into either of our locations and they're out in an hour. Also, it's not like nobody will know except you might be glowing and people say, you look really well rested today.
So to that point, so you started the business and you're obviously a little bit different to other facial bars or facial places, spas, exactly. Right? Now, so did you see a need? So when you came, I mean, you were from Miami, but you went away, you came back, and you saw a need for it, right? Did you go to other facial spas and you're like, there is a need for this?
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, I'm from South Florida, and I'd mentioned before, I got the idea while I was living in New York, but I wanted to come back to South Florida, and I definitely thought that there was a need. I think that especially our first location was in Brickell, which is a working demographic, and just seeing that a lot of the options around there, first of all, they're just so pricey, and I saw the products they were using, and I'm like, well, clay has just as high quality, if not better in certain cases, of products. So, and then even I remember one place that I was looking at, they were like, oh, our last appointment's at 5 p.m. And I thought, well, these are working professionals. So where is there a place that just, it's easier? This process is too difficult, and it's recommended to get one once a month. And so by dermatologists and everywhere you look online. So it's why are we not coming once a month and taking care of our skin as a longer term investment?
I think you're right. I think that's why our businesses flourish in Brickell, particularly as one area that makes me think that it's such a good spot for our businesses, is that people are on the go there. It's very, everyone's on the move to work, and they've got very limited time. And so grabbing a coffee needs to be convenient.
Yep.
They still want quality, but it needs to be convenient.
Yep.
Getting a facial, there's so much stuff that they have in their day that things need to be more convenient.
Yeah.
And they don't want to miss out on the quality doing that. And I think that's where both of our businesses hit the target there in Brickell. Tell me a little bit about some advice that you would give someone, an entrepreneur, because this show obviously is talking about entrepreneurs in Miami, some advice you would give to some young entrepreneurs coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I consider myself a young entrepreneur as well. It hasn't been too long, so I'm learning as well. I would say, man, I feel like I'm going to sound like Gary Vee here, but it's so much about like stamina and resilience, and like some of the things that I think about that I found so upsetting in the beginning are just like, oh, I'll get through this, you know? So it's just about like having that resilience, having that stamina. I'd say another thing that I just thought of is you need to be solving a problem, and you need to like know what your customers want. And so if it's not good enough to just say like, I have this idea. It's like, what are you solving? Like, what are you giving to people that people see value in, that they're willing to give money for? So it's kind of like understanding, like, don't just do something because you think it's a good idea, but understand what other people are coming to you for. And I think that's what I did a lot in the beginning with Clay.
Really understanding a customer and interacting with them, so you find out what am I doing right, what can I do better.
Yes.
And I don't know about you, but you find kind of every day you have to think about, how can I do this better?
Right.
You know, like, and then you take a few steps forward sometimes, maybe one or two back, but you keep kind of progressing. But I think some people maybe think that the progression should be like this, whereas it kind of takes, you know, a little bit, but you keep going up, and you have to be able to sort of take any little setbacks that you get, and you have to learn from them, right?
Totally, yes, feedback.
Feedback, absolutely. Okay, Taylor, so next let's talk about branding, right? Like, I know obviously for us, we put a bit of effort into, especially my wife, puts a lot of effort into our branding and our marketing, and I know you do too. Like, for example, today, you are on brand. I just want to show everyone, on brand here, on brand. But tell us a little bit about like why that's important.
Yeah.
And a little bit about how you came up with your brand.
Yeah. So I'd say if I were to describe our brand in 2 words, it'd be accessibility and quality. Those are 2 major focuses for us at Clay. And so far as like how it kind of was first born way back, like the color scheme, what have you. So Clay, actually, CLAY, is in our masks, and it's a natural ingredient. I really liked having like natural, and I made the color kind of like a terracotta natural color. And so I wanted it to be more about like being natural, and like it doesn't need to be so aggressive, like taking care of your skin as long as you're consistent about it. And so that was kind of like the coloring, the naming, like all of that was kind of tied in. And then
and let me tell you something, you know that your brand's on point when people start calling you Clay, which happens, right?
Yeah, you called me Clay.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So, yeah, you know your branding is really on point when your brand name starts to become your real name.
Yeah.
But you really do a great job with it, and I know both of our businesses kind of see the importance of that for what we're doing.
Absolutely.
So good job with that. But next, let's talk about a little bit about the beauty industry in Miami.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about like where you see the beauty industry. I know, like from a coffee perspective, we've talked about in the episodes before this about how it's really growing. The food scene's really growing. Let's hear about the beauty industry.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I lived in New York before, so but I was in Miami before that, and so I love Miami. My family's here in South Florida, so I think it's really interesting what's going on in Miami, just food-wise and beauty-wise, and I think that it's really improving. I'd say that love Miami. I'd say it's about 5 years behind New York insofar as trends. Sure. And so there is actually a trend in the beauty industry as a whole around specialization, like a nail bar or a massage. Like all you do is that thing, and you're able to deliver a higher quality product and make it more affordable by specializing in one thing. And honestly, the like spa days, like that's not really a thing, you know, like you go, I mean, it is, I mean, good for you, but like most people can't fit in a monthly spa day.
Once every year,
like an anniversary.
What you're trying to incorporate is something into a life, like, you know, that you incorporate into a routine.
A routine, exactly. And so kind of specializing in one thing. And so I know in Miami there are nail bars, and in New York, there are like all different types of specialization, and you're able to. And I think specialization kind of, people think also it's like standardized, but that's what's really cool about Clay. And I think a lot of places that are like bars or a dry bar or whatever is that you're able to still customize it. So you have like within limitations, like we're specializing only in facial treatments, but we're able to customize based on our products or our service. We're able to customize it to your skin type because not everyone's the same.
Exactly. And something like you mentioned, you know, with the whole Miami's a little bit behind on that.
Yeah.
Same with the coffee industry. If you go to New York, it's well ahead on the coffee scene. But I guess the great thing about that for entrepreneurs in Miami, which we're seeing so many younger, just general entrepreneurs, is that there's opportunity, right? Because you see what other people are doing, you're like, hang on, that's going to happen here, you know? So we're all seeing these great opportunities. It's great for the customers because Miami's, you know, growing up a little bit and getting some really cool things, still keeping what's unique about Miami, but also, you know, moving with the times, which is exciting, right? To live here and see that happen.
Totally. Very different from 5 years ago and 10 years ago. But I'm really happy to be a part of it and to live in this city.
Yeah, awesome. Well, where do you see, to that point, where do you see Clay Facial Bar in 50 years? No, just joking. 5 years.
In 5 years. So right now we're at 2 locations. We lease space in existing businesses. So we're just one room, which is how we're, again, able to keep our costs down and our prices lower while still maintaining a high quality. And so, yeah, that being said, I'd love to have, in 5 years. Okay, so in the next year, I'd love to have several more locations. And I want to cater to markets that are not tier 1 markets. I don't see myself going to New York. I don't see myself going to LA.
Sure.
Or Clay going to New York or LA. But more like I would love to be in markets that are kind of like not as, I want to say underserved, but it's not as saturated.
Yeah.
So I think,
sense.
Like expanding throughout Florida would be amazing. Like the Brickell of Orlando or the Brickell of Tampa is kind of where I see that expansion. So in 5 years, I don't know how many, but that's kind of like work your way up.
Yeah, and you know what? Like to that point, when I ask people that question, entrepreneurs, it's a hard one for them. And I think the reason is that we all have a bit of a general vision, because 5 years is a fair way out. But we're also kind of open. We realize that in a business, things can change pretty quickly. So we kind of focused more on the next year or two, and that it's to ask that 5-year question is a little tricky, right? You have to actually kind of stop and think about it.
And you have this vision, you have this goal, and it's what you think about. But then also when you're the owner, you have to just be thinking on the day-to-day also. So you're like, I got to make sure I pick up the towels, and I have to. So you're like, yeah, that's my vision, but like you said, so much can change.
If you start thinking 5 years ahead, it's like, okay,
it's dangerous
what have
a little
I forgotten right now? Exactly. So that's why it's a tricky question, but it's one that's important to think about every now and then, and just sort of make sure you do have kind of that longer term vision as well, right? You would think, because otherwise, what you're doing in the short term needs to work to what you're doing in the long term, right? So yeah, very good. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here.
Yes, thank you.
We are going to do something pretty fun. We're going to do our quick shots, right? Which is where we're going to ask you a whole bunch of questions and just give us some candid answers, all right?
Okay.
All right, let's do it. What do you think?
Yeah, the old Clay thinking cap, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yes, exactly. Although you might need it for these questions. Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right. First one, favorite city in the US besides the one you live in?
I love New York. I have a weird New York addiction.
Yeah.
Every
New York?
3 months I make a trip.
All right, perfect. Next one, white head or black head?
Personally, I have a lot of blackheads.
So blackhead, okay. It's kind of a bit gross, that one. But anyway, let's move on. Chemical peel or facial mask?
Well, you get both when you come for a Clay facial. I like we have a micro peel that I really like, and you really notice the difference in how your skin feels.
So micro peel.
Yeah, well, it's a chemical. It's a chemical, so that's my answer. Chemical.
Okay, perfect. Gel or acrylic?
Gel.
Gel?
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, you can say neither if you don't like either.
Just get a standard Manny, you know.
Standard Manny.
I'm more price sensitive.
Perfect. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Most people go for that. Iced latte or cold brew? I think you had an iced latte earlier, so I don't know.
I've had both, so I'd say my standard's cold brew though.
Cold brew. It's kind of your go-to, right?
Yeah, it's my go-to.
Okay, perfect. Art Basel or Ultra Festival?
Basel.
Basel, okay, yes. Never Ultra, always Art Basel?
Younger days Ultra, older days,
And now Art Basel. You've
mature into the Basel days, yes.
Getting a facial or giving a facial?
Receiving.
Seems like all our interviewees like that. Okay, what is the most impressive thing that you know how to do?
Oh my goodness. I think something that I play piano and people are like, oh wow, yeah, that's surprises people. So, and I love playing the piano. So,
very cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Maybe you should come. We've got a piano here at the Lincoln Eatery. Maybe you should come and do a performance.
I pretty
one
much
day.
know like one song by heart, so you'll be hearing Pachelbel
The
Canon and
same
D
one?
on repeat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe not then. Okay. All right. Who has it easier, men or women?
Men. It's tough being a woman, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
All right, excellent, mate. Well, it's been fantastic to have you here.
Thank you so much,
Like I
David.
say to most of our guests, we'll probably redo this again at some time in the future and see where you're at, which will be exciting.
Yeah,
But we wish you
love
all
it.
the best.
Thank you so much.
And I'm going to come in for a facial.
Yes, absolutely. We'd love to have you.
All right, thanks a lot, Taylor.
Thank you.